'91 vinyl community. Decided to make a vinyl video. The pickings at the thrift store has been pretty slim, so go to a method called working with what you have. In this video, I want to spotlight two albums that relate to each other. First of all, they were released 2 years apart, 76 and 74. They were by major bands who had a lot of success, one more than the other, but they both big names, had a lot of hits. And I'm spotlighting these two albums because these artists did something different, and this has been tried before with rock and pop acts. They made an album that's very jazz influence, or I got my notes here from Wikipedia. Instrumental jazz or fusion, jazz fusion rock. And so I'm going to hold up the albums and talk about them. The first one is Chicago. And you know, they always named all their albums. This is V11. I don't know what number that is in Roman numerals. I'm not up on my Roman numerals, but V and then two ones. And this came out in '74, so they were well into their career, midpoint of their classic period, before they became really a ballad hit machine factory. But came out in '74. This did have a few of their big hits. Call on Me, Wishing You Were Here, and another big hit. So, but about 3/4 of the album is mostly instrumental jazz. So I went to Wikipedia, and during the tours, the band got a little bored with what they were doing, and so they started working on some new material that was very jazzy, instrumental types, and thought, hey, let's go in the studio and record this and, you know, release a jazz album. Well, the producer and the bass player, Peter Cetera, had reservations about such a commercial risk, let's say. So a compromise was reached where they put in some more traditional sounding Chicago tunes. And I brought this at a thrift store. It's very good condition, cover and the vinyl, and it plays nicely to hear. And I got it home and I started listening to it. I like some jazz sometimes. Jazz to me, although it does have its, you know, vocal traditions, it's mostly instrumental, long instrumental music. I'm more of a, you know, 4 or 5 minute, you know, each track, move on. I'm not into a 14 minutes jazz instrumental unless I'm in the mood, unless had a hard day at work. I just want to take a hot bath and you know, soak, turn on some of this music and just zone out. So I got to be in that state. But I listened to both these albums. I'm going to bring up the other one, and I said, this is great stuff. So if you ever run across this album in good condition at a thrift store, Chicago V11, buy it. It has some traditional Chicago songs, some of their hits, but 75% of it is instrumental jazz. And what we're listening to here is a song called BYBLOS. I can't pronounce that word. It was written by Terry Kate, their guitarist, who unfortunately died a couple years later, accidental shooting, after this album was released. Moving on to the next album, you all remember the group War. You know, Why Can't We Be Friends? The World is a Ghetto. Back there, Burden Up on Spill the Wine. This didn't have any big hits off of it, and this came out in '76. And about that time, War was had their last big hit with Why Can't We Be Friends, and this album came out on the Blue Note label, which was owned by United Artists, which was the normal label War was on. So it wasn't like they jumped label, they just went to a subsidiary or whatever. Some good photos of the group there. And what I read from Wikipedia, half of the material on this album was been on other studio albums, and the other half was newly recorded stuff. And this will put you in a mellow mood. And they really showed their jazz chops, really the boundaries. You know, you think of War with their hits and a few good albums. Well, if you listen to this album, you will have a new appreciation for them and their musical abilities. This has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 songs actually, spread out on 2 albums. I actually brought this one not at a thrift store, but at a record store, because I went to Spotify to listen to. I was curious, just listen to some tracks. So I hunted it down and found one at my independent record dealer, and I paid $6.99 for it. Great condition, vinyl plays great. Hey, they're getting down. So, if you're a purist, this may not be for you. Purist kind of looks down on, rock and pop acts who try to do jazz. But I think in these 2 cases, they got it right. So, hold these back up. Chicago V11 and War Platinum Jazz. My notes here, I'm referring to them. So if you have a casual interest in jazz and you see these albums, and you can get them cheap, or you might want to get them on CD. Go to Spotify first, and or one of the providers, and the Raspberry and Pandora, I don't know, and listen to some of this material. And you got to give it a good listen though. The record has ended. So what we'll do to end this video, I'll pull out place a track from the War. War is coming, War is coming. And we'll put that on and end the video. Oh, one other thing, and I've always wondered this myself. how come on double albums, sometimes side one, you know, on one disc, side one, on top it says side one, and then to play side two, you gotta go to the second disc instead of flipping it over and it's side two. It's like side three or four. And you know, in other words, one disc is side one, flip it over, it's side four, and the second disc is side two. Side two and three. I never understood that. Why can't a disc be side one, side two? That way, when you flip the record over, you want to listen to side two, you don't have to take the record off, go get the second one to play side two. It's ridiculous. And Platinum Jazz is that way. Chicago is not. It's side one, two, three, four. So if anyone in the vinyl community can answer that question, that would be great. So I'm gonna just play a little bit of the Platinum Jazz by War and cut the camera off. Thank you for listening. I welcome your comments. Anything you want to add, if you can answer that question, that's great. Thank you, vinyl community and everyone. Sound a little bit like Men at Work, the intro. Bass, boom, 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 boom. This is good stuff, go listen to it.